So here's vocabulary we need to know. So we discussed the data before. So there are lots of definitions of data. So here is the book's definition of data. The facts and figures collected, analyzed, and summarized for presentation and interpretation. That's the data. And so we look at the tabular data in this class. So data that's in the form of a table, So here is an example. So it's in a table kind of format. And so each row has a company. And what is this data set about, by the way? It's Dow Jones Industrial Average. So the companies that are included in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, Industrial Index. Right? So it's those big companies that are representing the U.S. market. Just looking at these 30 companies it gives you some rough idea of how the economy is doing, how the market is doing in the U.S. And there are 30 companies in there. And what is the row? The row always has some item, some entity that you're studying. And the things that you want to know about each entity, so those are the variables. Those are in the columns. So for each company, we have name of the company, the symbol for that company, the industry that the company is in, the price, the share price, and the market capitalization. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of information, 5 characteristics for each company. So here we might say there are 5 variables. And when you look at these numbers, these are all different. When you look down the column, all these are different, and that's what makes it interesting. If all these numbers were the same, then what's the point? You want to look at the differences and then think about why the difference, and we want to compare the values across the observations or across the companies. Okay, so variable, as we said, characteristic or quantity of interest. That can take on different values, like the share price and the company name and so forth. So these are representing the columns of your data, and the observations are a set of values corresponding to a set of variables. So basically what that means, a row. There's a row of numbers, row of values. Okay. And the variation is a difference in the variable measured over observations. So we might say, okay, here, there's a lot of variations here. We might say, if these numbers are all over the place, we would say there's large variation. If these numbers are close to each other, then we would say there's a small variation. Okay, and random variable and certain variable, what is this? Sometimes we talk about the random variable and certain variables. So these are the variables whose values are not known with certainty. So like, for instance, we could, what's going to happen tomorrow? Well, we don't know. So what's going to be the share price of what's going to be the share price of Apple tomorrow? Well, that's a future value, so we don't know. So we would say that's could be a random variable or uncertain variable. Okay, and as we do our jobs in our work or in other places or in our organizations, a lot of times we have a data set that we are interested in. So we're interested in different things. For example, I'm a professor, so I need to keep track of. So I have a roster, right? So for each person, I have a row. And then for each person, I keep track of different things like grades and different assignments and things like that. Say if you're like in a more of a market field, what would be an example of the things that you're interested in? Like what would be in your role? What would be like observation if you're in marketing?
Like clicks per view or like retention customers online.
All right, so clicks per view. So what would one row represent in your data set?
All the data about that person?
So it's a person. Yeah, person, right. So one row would be a person. What kind of person is this? You're a potential customer or past customer? Or what? Past, right. So the customers that you have some information on, right? Right, so each row might be a customer, and then you might have some columns. Now you have a column for each characteristic that you're keeping track of. If you are a financial analyst, what would be an example of of the observation or the rows.
Performance of a security, so a bond, a stock, what
Okay.
what the
The
maybe
security.
price has been, yeah.
Right, so you might have, in different rows, you might have different securities, different values. And so types of data, about the types of data, so you guys know about the population data versus the sample data. All right, so so population might be like all the stocks that are publicly traded in U.S. market. That might be the population. And then you have here sample the population. So it's a subset that is representative of the entire population. So a lot of times we don't really have the time or resource to study the entire population. So we keep a track of the sample, a small subset of that population. So that's a very common thing we do. Okay, and we try to get a random sampling so that it would be hopefully representative. So random sampling means that each unit or each item in the population has the same chance of being selected. So let's say let's say you guys are my population, and if I want to select and take a random sample of 10 from you guys, and then if I just call down like the people who are sitting in the front, that would not be a representative sample. So I might have to maybe go to my roster and close my eyes and just pick someone each time. Each person should have the same chance of being selected in order to be considered the sample as a random sample. Okay, and then quantitative versus categorical data. So if you look at the column, some columns have numbers, some columns have like a text or description. So let's take a look at this example again. Okay, so this column, industry, would you say this is quantitative or categorical? So quantitative means meaningful quantity, some sort of amount. Categorical means not. Okay, so for this one, you're going to say categorical. Right, that makes sense, right? So categorical because there's a different categories of industry here. All right. Now, what about the share prices?
Numerical?
Right. So numerical and quantitative, right? So same thing, right? All right. So it would be a quantitative here. And what about the market capitalization?
Also quantitative.
Also quantitative, right? Also quantitative. Quantitative and quantitative, and then that one would be a categorical. Okay, and then these are a little bit different because these are unique. So all these values are unique. So we would call them maybe labels or the identifiers. Okay, so labels or identifiers. And then I would probably say the same thing about these. But if you were asked to choose just between quantitative versus categorical, and you were given this column, then you would say categorical. Now, sometimes there's a big confusion because sometimes people take the categorical data and then assign numbers to them. So, for example, let's say you have a survey, and then you ask people, okay, what is your gender? What is your gender? And then maybe you have three choices, male, female, and then other. Okay, so male, female, other. Okay, so people choose one of these three choices. And then because maybe you don't want to type in male, female, other every time, maybe you might assign the numbers to them. Male is 1, female is 2, other is 3. So what you might see, when you look at the column that's been reported, you might see something like this. But you might say, oh, these are numbers, so they are quantitative, but they are not. Because these numbers are actually just names, just codes for these categories. So they represent these categories, not like amount of something. So it's not like we're saying, okay, there's a 1 unit of gender, and there's 3 units and 2 units, and so forth. So these don't really represent quantities. They are just labels or the codes for these categories. So this would still be considered a categorical variable. becomes categorical. So just because a number doesn't mean it's quantitative. You gotta look at what do these numbers mean. Now, cross-sectional versus time series data. So cross-sectional means that data was collected at basically one point in time, and time series means that it was collected over like a sequence of times, like every month, every year, that kind of thing. So if I look at this one here, would you say this is cross-sectional or time series?
Cross.
Cross-sectional, right. So it says right here when I collected it. Cross-sectional data. And now here is a version of time series data. The second tab here is, it started like in 2006. It looks like monthly data, right? So monthly data, and then it goes to where? It goes to September 2022. So you could say this is time series data. So because it was collected over time, and each row is labeled with some time, some point in time. Okay. So in this case, if you were to graph the time series, then the horizontal axis is going to have the time periods. So we have a time periods, and then our vertical axis will have whatever quantity that you're interested in. And so, by the way, you could kind of see when you look at the time series data, it's pretty useful. You could look at the trend. You could see that over time, the closing, so Dow Jones Industrial Average was it went up. It went up mostly, but then here's a little dip here. Okay, and when is that? Is that COVID? Yeah, like the COVID. All right, so this is when COVID happened. All right, and then it kind of recovered here. And then this dip was when there was like financial crisis, right? With the subprime mortgages, so there was a dip you could see over here. Okay, and so these are the definitions, and now let's go over to looking at some data. What are these? 20 top-selling automobiles in the United States in February 2019. So here are the tasks we are going to do on this data set. First, let's take a look at it. Okay, so let's kind of look around. Okay, I see there's 20 here, and these are ranked by February 2019 sales. I see them here. So here I could see it goes from the highest to lowest value here. And sales, we also give the sales from the year before, February 2018. I got here manufacturer and the model. I could see that Toyota Corolla was the highest top selling vehicle in February 2019. Okay, and then the Camry and Honda Civic, Honda Accord, and so forth. Okay, and the first thing we want to do is we want to see how these numbers changed. And so we want to see which cars had numbers go up, which cars had numbers go down, that kind of thing. Now here I could first, now if I just want to see how it changed, I could take the new number and then subtract the old number, right? So I could go, if I just want to change, I could go, okay, here's the new number, and then minus the old number, and if that number is positive, that means it increased. If the number is negative, then it decreased. So now that gives me some number. So I could say with this, I could say Toyota Corolla sales went up, and by how many? Went up by 39.95, and I didn't see units. So 3,995 units. That was the increase. Okay, well that's fine. So we got something here. But now, is this a large number or a small number? Large. Looks like a large number. But on the other hand, it kind of depends on what the number was originally. If the number here was, let's say, 1 million, if this number was a million, and it went up by about 4,000, that's not that much. But if the number is 25,000, that seems significant. Okay, so we want to be able to kind of contextualize this value, and this is why we want to convert it into percentage. And so normally that's what we want to do. And so we don't just give the raw increase or raw decrease. We want to be able to say it increased by this percent or it decreased by this percent. Okay, so how do I get the increase? So I could take the change and divide it by what? New number or the old number? The old number, right, old number. Because the old number is a baseline. Right? So that's where we're starting. So we'll say, okay, old number to this is how much it changed relative to this. It looks like this. So we want to divide by the old number, which is 25,021. Okay. So this was the new number minus old number divided by the old number. Or you could also do like new divided by old, and then you could subtract 1 and you'll be doing the same thing. Okay, right? So new divided by old minus old, okay. So either way, it's equivalent. Okay, so anyway, so I got 1. Once I have 1, then I don't have to keep typing this over and over, right? So what can I do with this? I could drag it down. So I could just drag it down. But also, here's a kind of a shortcut. Instead of dragging it like that, I could also just double click. So if it's easy for you to double click on your laptop, so I could go over here, then kind of double click, and it will all have the same effect as dragging it down. So either way it works. So it kind of stops at the right place because it looks at the column that's already there, so it knows where to stop. Okay, so that's the percent change, and that's not the percent change. It's in decimal number, so we want to convert this into a percent. So we want to go here, and we want to select the entire column of numbers, and then change that to a percent. So I'm going now. How do you go from here? Select the entire column, like the end to the bottom of this column. What was the shortcut? Control-Shift down arrow, right? So I say Control-Shift down arrow. So I have selected the columns, down to the bottom. Now I could just go over here. Oh, well, there it is. So in the Home tab, and I could just click on the percent sign. So I could click on the percent sign. So that's it. So that's it. Now it depends. Sometimes I might want to show like a 1 decimal digit. That's kind of typical with a percent to show 1 decimal digit. And so I could do the this little thing, increase decimal, that will show me 1 decimal digit. So now it's been rounded to the percent with the 1 decimal digit. Okay, so that's good. We did this. This is what we did so far. Okay, now what do we want to do with this? Sort the automobiles by February 2018 sales from largest to smallest sales, which was the highest selling model in February 2018. So we want to look at like the last year, the previous year. So, sorting and filtering. So sorting and filtering, let's make sure everybody remembers how to do it. So order the rows of data based on the values of a column. So this is what we're sorting. And here are the directions. So place your cursor somewhere in the data region and then select the entire data region and then data filter. Okay, so that means I just click somewhere. Click somewhere in here. And then I go over to data tab. Then I go over to there's the funnel thing over here. So the funnel shape, right? That's the filter. So filter, and what does this do? It gives you the little down arrows, which are very convenient thing to have, in your data. All right. So again, just click anywhere in your data set, go over to the data tab, and then click on the little filter icon. So now you have the filter on, and then now if you go over here. You click on this like little down arrow, and here you could see there's things, different things you could do with it. Okay, so there's a filter here. You could select different things. That's a filter, and the sort is up here. So largest to smallest, is that what we want? Yeah, so let's go largest to smallest. So now I have sorted the rows based on the value of the February 2018 sales. And now, so which was the highest selling model in February 2018? Here, and we just pick it up from the top, Toyota Camry. Toyota Camry. Now, suppose I want to undo this. That is, of course, I could do Control Z to undo, but let's just do it with this little sort thing here. Here, I could, yeah, so I'll just go here and then largest to smallest. Now, I could also, here's a little shortcut. Suppose I want to go here, and I want to do this again. But instead of using this little arrow, I could also do it this way. I could just right-click on one of the numbers in this column, and then can you see the sort here? So you can see the sort, and then you could just click on the sort that you want to do. Okay, but that's a little dangerous. If your data is not quite in the right format, then it's going to mess up it's going to kind of break up the columns. So one thing I might do if I want to try that, then maybe I might kind of highlight the one row, kind of like this. Choose one row and highlight it, over to home, highlight it, and then I'm going to try sorting. In a quick way, and if this row is kind of still connected together, then probably it was okay. Okay, so I go here and say, okay, right click, and then sort and largest to smallest. So it looks like, okay, this row stayed intact, and so the columns of this row didn't come off, didn't get to like different rows. They're all still in the same row, so. I could say that must have worked okay. Okay, so that's one. Now show only the automobiles made by Nissan. Only the made by Nissan. So that means filtering, right? So you want to show only the rows that satisfy certain conditions. Right? So filter, uncheck, select all, and then check only the values you want to show. Text filter, number filter, those are like some other things that you can do other things with these. So under filtering, click on Clear Filter, and you could also filter based on 2 or more columns. Okay, so let's go here for Nissan. Okay, so over here, manufacturer, and okay, here it is. So uncheck everybody, and then just check the Nissan. Check Nissan, and okay, I have all the 3 models by Nissan here. Okay. Now, if you're asked to so if your boss says, I just want you to see the Nissan data, so then this is what you could do. You could filter, and you might want to just kind of copy and paste this. Copy and paste this into some other. And paste it like this. So now this has only the Nissan data. Okay, and then now how do we get rid of this this marquee? Some people call it dancing ants. Well, escape. Escape now. Now they are gone. Okay, I'm just going to clear the filter. So here, clear filter from manufacturer. Okay, now you could also see like the text filter here. You could say. If for some reason you want to show only the manufacturers that start with the letter H, for example, so I could go to text filter. I could say it begins with T or no H, H, and you could have like more than one condition. So begins with, and then you could have like ends with, and things like that. But okay, right? And then say okay. So now I have Hondas and Hyundais. Okay, so there's a lot you could do with a text filter, and okay, let me clear that here. And like here, there's number filter. So here you could see number filter. So you could do equal, does not equal, greater than something, less than something, or between things, and so on, like something like this. So you could say, okay, please show me the cars that had more than 5,000, and then let's say less than or equal to 10,000, for example. So between 5,000 and 10,000, and then okay, and then again I could clear the filter like this. Okay. Yeah. So you could also do like filter here and then filter somewhere else. Then it will select only the rows that satisfy both of the conditions. Okay. And you could also sort with like by more than one criteria. So I could go. You could sort by. Suppose you want to do a sort by Toyota and then not sort by manufacturer, and then within each manufacturer sort by the sales in February. Okay, so for example, so let's try this. Let's try, okay. Sort by manufacturer, like alphabetically. And then within each manufacturer, sort by February 2019 sales. 2019 sales. So with Excel, how it's done is that you kind of go backwards. So first you sort by February 2019 sales, and then sort by manufacturer. Depending on the software, but in Excel, you need to kind of go backwards. So let's try that. Let's make sure that works. So first do the February 2019. Okay, let's do like largest to smallest. Let's do largest, smallest here. Okay, and then go to manufacturer, and then sort A to Z. Then sort A to Z. Okay, well, let's look at this one, Ford. Within Ford, there's this one is the highest, and then the second highest, and the third highest. Right? And then within Kia, right? So you have the largest, and then middle, and then the smallest. So that's the sorting, and then let's go with conditional formatting. Highlight the models for which the sales have decreased from February 2018 to February 2019. That is, highlight the negative percent changes. Highlight the negative percent changes. So here, so I'm going to just highlight this column, and just highlight this column. So I could see here are some negative numbers here. Here are some negative numbers here, and it would be nice to just kind of color the negative numbers, differently, from the others. And so that's what we're going to do. And okay, so it's over here. Select the cells F1 to F21. Select this one, and then so you follow this thing. Okay. So I go over here and then select, right, the entire column. Then in the Home tab, there's a conditional formatting and highlight cell rules, and it should be negative. Rule is negative, so it's less than 0. But wait, it's already colored because it kind of arbitrarily decides on the number. There's a default number that's already entered there, and you could change it to 0. Change the number you want. You could say 0% or 0, it doesn't matter, because it means the same thing. So say OK. So now it has colored the cells that have the negative numbers. Okay, this is the advanced version. Okay. So if you want to actually highlight the models for which the percent change is negative, this is here are the directions. If you're interested, you could try it. It's optional. So this advanced part, that's optional, not this one before, but it's nice to know. Okay, so I'm gonna go skip over to the data bars. Okay, so data bars are gives you more information than just the highlighting the cells. It's going to. So I'm going to again try this. Select these guys. I'm going to try embedding data bars. So I go back to the same place, go back to Home, Conditional Formatting, and you can see there's a bunch of options here. There's a lot of kind of fun stuff you could do here. So the data bars, and then I guess this one, Either, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so maybe this one looks a little fancier. Let's go with this one. Okay, so that gives me more information in that. Okay, so you could immediately see which ones are negative, the red ones. The red ones are negative, the blue ones are positive, and the blue ones are positive, and you could also see the magnitude of these values, the size of these numbers. So you can see that this one is very negative, negative 42.8, so that's very low. That's a very low number. And this one is 41, is a positive, 41.5. And that one is also positive, but that's only 29.6, so you can see the bar is shorter than this other bar. So this gives you both the direction and the magnitude of these numbers, so you could, just by looking at it, you could kind of tell right away what's going on. And so this kind of thing is very helpful, when you're trying to communicate the data. So instead of just giving the numbers, so maybe you want to give some pictures like this, because especially when you're doing a presentation, in front of your manager or your clients, like the picture is worth what? How many words? 1,000, right? So a picture is worth 1,000 words. So because when you're doing a presentation, you don't have a lot of time to explain like little details. So you want to include pictures that like tells and shows what's going on like right away, so that audience doesn't have to work very hard to see what's going on. So, so this kind of picture is very, very helpful.